Genghis Khan, 1162 to 1227. Genghis Khan, born Temujin, carved the largest contiguous empire in history through relentless conquest. He united the Mongol tribes under his rule and unleashed armies that swept across Asia and into Europe, leaving a trail of destruction. His campaigns are estimated to have caused tens of millions of deaths, with entire cities wiped out to serve as warnings to others. Yet, his rule also imposed a brutal order on conquered lands, promoting trade along the Silk Road. Genghis's legacy is complex, admired as a unifier, but feared as a destroyer whose ruthlessness reshaped civilizations. His use of terror as a weapon of war was unmatched, making him one of history's most feared warlords. Attila the Hun, 406 to 453, known as the Scourge of God, Attila terrorized the Roman Empire during the 5th century. Leading the Huns, a fierce nomadic people, he launched devastating raids across Eastern and Western Europe. Attila's forces burned cities, plundered treasures, and left countless bodies in their wake. Roman chroniclers described him as a figure of near-supernatural cruelty, extracting immense ransoms from the empire under threat of annihilation. While his empire collapsed shortly after his death, his reign of fear left an indelible scar on Europe's memory. Attila remains one of the most infamous warlords for his merciless brutality and the chaos he brought to a crumbling Rome. Timur, Tamerlane, 1336 to 1405. Timur, also known as Tamerlane, sought to rebuild Genghis Khan's empire in the 14th century through conquest and terror. A military genius, Timur was equally infamous for the savagery of his campaigns. He is remembered for constructing towers made of human skulls after massacring cities, a chilling testament to his cruelty. His conquests stretched from Persia to India and Anatolia, leaving tens of millions dead. Timur justified his wars as holy struggles, but they were largely campaigns of plunder and domination. Despite his brutality, he fostered cultural achievements in Samarkand, yet his name remains synonymous with ruthless warlordism. Vlad the Impaler, 1431 to 1476/77, Vlad III of Wallachia, better known as Vlad the Impaler, inspired the Dracula legend, but his cruelty was far from myth. He gained infamy for impaling his enemies on wooden stakes, creating forests of corpses as a warning. While he fought valiantly against Ottoman incursions, his methods were drenched in terror and blood. Stories recount that he left thousands of bodies rotting in fields, instilling dread across Eastern Europe. For Vlad, fear was a weapon as effective as swords, ensuring both loyalty and horror. Though celebrated by some as a defender of his homeland, his sadistic brutality makes him one of history's darkest warlords. Hernán Cortés, 1485 to 1547. The Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés led the conquest of the Aztec Empire, toppling one of the most sophisticated civilizations in the Americas. With fewer than 1,000 men, aided by alliances and devastating diseases, he dismantled the Aztec world through cunning, violence, and betrayal. The fall of Tenochtitlan in 1521 was marked by slaughter, enslavement, and the erasure of a culture. Cortés embodied the ruthless ambition of European colonial conquest, motivated by gold, glory, and God. His brutality against indigenous peoples and the destruction of their civilization earned him a lasting place among history's most infamous conquerors. Tokugawa Ieyasu, 1543 to 1616. Tokugawa Ieyasu, the founder of the Tokugawa shogunate in Japan, is often admired for unifying the country, but his rise was paved with ruthless pragmatism. A cunning warlord, he crushed rivals through calculated betrayals and bloody battles, most notably at Sekigahara in 1600. While his rule ushered in centuries of stability, his earlier campaigns were marked by treachery, executions, and the elimination of entire families to secure power. He forced enemies into submission and reshaped Japan under authoritarian control. His legacy is paradoxical, credited with peace, yet forged through merciless warlord tactics that cemented his iron grip on Japan. Shaka Zulu, 1787 to 1828. Shaka Zulu transformed the Zulu kingdom into a dominant military power in southern Africa, but his methods were notoriously brutal. He revolutionized warfare with innovative tactics and strict discipline, yet his conquests left devastation in their wake. Villages were razed, populations displaced, and dissenters executed without hesitation. Shaka's rule became increasingly tyrannical, with mass killings ordered after personal losses. While revered as a brilliant military strategist, his reign was built on fear and violence. The Mefekane, the crushing upheavals caused by his wars, reshaped southern Africa, leaving a legacy of both power and destruction. Benito Mussolini, 1883 to 1945. Mussolini, the fascist dictator of Italy, styled himself as a modern Caesar, but became one of the 20th century's most ruthless warlords. His imperial ambitions led to brutal campaigns, most infamously in Ethiopia, where chemical weapons and mass killings marked his conquest. Mussolini glorified war as a tool of national rebirth, yet his militarism brought only ruin. His alliance with Hitler plunged Italy into World War II, spreading destruction across Europe and North Africa. Though often overshadowed by his Nazi counterpart, Mussolini's war crimes and oppressive regime cement his place among history's most evil warlords. Adolf Hitler, 1889–1945. Adolf Hitler, dictator of Nazi Germany, was one of the most destructive warlords in history. Rising to power through nationalist propaganda, he plunged the world into World War II, orchestrating invasions across Europe that left tens of millions dead. His genocidal policies led to the Holocaust, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews, alongside countless others deemed undesirable. Hitler's military ambitions brought devastation to both conquered lands and his own nation, leaving cities in ruins and societies shattered. Unlike traditional conquerors, his war was driven by ideology as much as power. Hitler's ruthless drive for domination and racial supremacy made him one of the most evil figures ever to command armies. Joseph Stalin, 1878 to 1953. Joseph Stalin, leader of the Soviet Union, was not only a dictator but also a ruthless warlord whose policies and purges caused immense suffering. While he played a crucial role in defeating Nazi Germany, his reign was marked by brutal military campaigns, forced collectivization, and the execution or exile of millions. Stalin's paranoia fueled purges of his own army, yet he commanded the Red Army with iron control. Entire populations were deported, dissenters crushed, and famines engineered through ruthless policies. He emerged from World War II as a global superpower leader, but at the cost of tens of millions of lives. Stalin's mixture of military command and state terror defines him as one of the darkest warlords in modern history. Pol Point Zero. Pol Pot, leader of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, ruled through one of the bloodiest reigns of the 20th century. From 1975 to 1979, his regime sought to create a pure agrarian society by eradicating modern life, forcing millions into labor camps. Intellectuals, minorities, and anyone suspected of disloyalty were executed in what became known as the killing fields. Nearly 2 million people, about a quarter of Cambodia's population, died from starvation, disease, and execution. Pol Pot's obsession with control turned his nation into a graveyard, his lager. Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong, founding father of Communist China, was more than a revolutionary leader. He became a warlord who ruled with ideological fervor and iron control. Rising from guerrilla warfare to victory in the Chinese Civil War, Mao established a regime that pursued radical policies at catastrophic human cost. The Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution led to famine, persecution, and purges that claimed tens of millions of lives. His military campaigns and political purges were driven by paranoia and a hunger for power, with entire populations crushed under his rule. Though celebrated by some as a unifier, Mao's reign turned China into a battlefield of ideology, making him one of the deadliest warlords in modern history.